While working at MI5, Maxwell Knight was perplexed by a very long-standing and ill-founded prejudice against the employment of women as agents. He had worked with plenty of female operatives, and they turned out to be, in most cases, more effective than men. Joan Miller, who according to some accounts was Maxwell's emotional mistress, had infiltrated Right Club, an anti-Semitic organization in London. Another one of his agents, Olga Gray, had penetrated the top brass of the Communist Party of Great Britain. Maxwell thought that as long as a woman wasn't markedly oversexed or undersexed, she could prove invaluable in espionage. What is required is a clever woman who can use her personal attraction wisely. We've heard all about the big bad boys of the Second World War: Churchill, Hirohito, Stalin, Hitler, Mussolini, Truman. The list goes on. But we don't really hear about the femme fatales that turned the tide of the war. Let's bite down on our cigars, open the bottle of champagne, and regale a tale of the unsung heroes. Here's a toast to the female spies of World War II. The war effort required all hands on deck, meaning nations' manpower also included women power. The Industrial Revolution had already brought the female workers to factories and warehouses, but their capabilities in the top echelons of any discipline were still very much scrutinized. In 1940, the British formed Special Operations Executive, or SOE, a secret organization to conduct espionage, sabotage, and surveillance, or as Churchill put it, to set Europe ablaze. SOE's defiance of contemporary attitudes meant they trained women in armed and unarmed combat. By the time women began assuming leadership roles in the field, a revolution in espionage was well underway. The SOE hired 39 women to build up the French resistance. For instance, Odette Sampson, an SOE spy, was captured in France and subjected to 14 Gestapo interrogations and torture sessions. She never blabbed and was eventually sent to a concentration camp, from where she was rescued. Across the pond, the U.S. was also preparing a similar intelligence outfit called the Office of Strategic Services, or the OSS. Franklin D. Roosevelt was concerned about American intelligence abilities in European lands, so he asked William J. Donovan, who had later had the CIA, to assess the situation with support from MI6 and SOE. He spent considerable time with Vera Atkins, who oversaw 37 female SOE agents working as courier and wireless operators. Vera was responsible for recruiting and deploying agents in France, and SOE's rugged, grimy approach under her watch highly impressed William J. Donovan. His report to Roosevelt persuaded the American president, and over the next few months, the OSS was organized with the help of its British counterparts. For the first few years, Nazi officials were caught off guard by Allied female agents, and their sexism did nothing but exacerbate their troubles. The Baker Street Irregulars deployed spies behind enemy lines, where their training helped them cope with the ever-present Gestapo threat. They were trained to create DIY weapons, exploding bombs, umbrellas with hidden blades, and all those weapons you see in James Bond films. FYI, Ian Fleming's Bond novels were inspired by the SOE. While Bond films are jolly and chic, the reality of WW2 counterintelligence was far from it. SOE agents carried suicide pills in anticipation of a sudden arrest. Noor Inayat Khan, a radio operator in France, was betrayed by a French national in hopes of a reward. Her team was ambushed. She was tortured, sent to the Dachau concentration camp, and executed. Or what about Violet Chabot, a saboteur sent to scramble German communications in France? She was captured by the Germans, sexually assaulted, physically beaten, and sent to Ravensbrück camp. With the impending Soviet liberation, the SS decided to eliminate as many prisoners as possible, Violet among them. Women were better suited to espionage since they could easily blend into domestic settings. Take Virginia Hall as an example. The U.S.-born agent was recruited by Vera Atkins and sent to German-occupied France under the ruse of a New York Times reporter. She recovered information on the ground, helped prisoners escape, and managed ammunition, agents, and other supplies. Once the authorities began catching up to her, she was pulled out. Then she joined the OSS. They sent her back to France as a radio operator, this time with gray hair and the disguise of an old lady. Some spies didn't need disguises, like Christina Spardek, who crossed the Tatar Mountains into Poland and began disseminating propaganda. When she was apprehended in Budapest, she bit her tongue and pretended to have tuberculosis. The German doctor, worried about the spread of the infection, recommended the Gestapo officers to let her go. When her car broke down between Hungary and Yugoslavia, she convincingly showed false documents at a German patrol, employing her feminine wiles to slip through. Other agents were a little brasher, like Pearl Corneli, who engaged in guerrilla warfare, working with rebellious groups to hit unsuspecting targets. Similarly, Nancy Wake drove an ambulance escorting rebels and prisoners from one place to another. She gradually turned it into an elaborate underground network throughout Marseille, but it would be remiss to talk about SOE and OSS as the only organizations where female spies played a crucial role. They spearheaded the trend, sure, but others were not far behind. Ursula Kaczynski, a GRU agent who went on to steal American nuclear secrets after the war, served in the Soviet wartime effort. On the flip side, the Nazis also employed female spies. Plenty of mysteries and half-truths were attributed to Vera Schulberg, who worked for the German intelligence service Abwehr. Women assumed a significant role in the Second World War, with an increased presence at factories and offices. They were often the least suspected figure in the workplace. It should come as no surprise, then, that spy masters were quick to realize the potential of female operatives. If you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like, hit that subscribe button, and ring the bell to hear more from us. Do let us know your thoughts in the comments. We'll see you in the next one.